friends. Welcome to this week's DFU. This is our 19th class in our Final Fantasy VII semester, and to be clear, we have finished all gameplay. At this point, there's just a couple of wrap-up episodes that Chris and I want to do, a few discussions that actually people have requested in one form or another, some of them actually in our personal lives that have shown up and been like, talk about this.
Yep.
So that's what's going to be happening over these next two episodes, I believe. They're going to be a little bit shorter and they're going to be a little bit more conversational as Chris introduces me to some things. And there will be things that we are watching off screen and then we're going to talk about. And we're doing that on purpose because this isn't a reaction channel and we don't necessarily do reactions here,
Right.
but we do want to have the conversations. The previous 18 episodes are not really prerequisites for this class, honestly, because hopefully if you're here and you've either seen those or you already know the discussion and you're actually interested in what we're going to talk about.
Right.
But either way, I am your host and fellow student Kelsey, and our professor is Chris, who knows everything about this and literally can't stop talking about it and has no idea what he's going to talk to people about after the remake comes out. Chris, how you doing this evening?
Well, luckily for me, we don't know how many of those there's going to be, so could be over the next decade. I could be getting Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, so I got some time.
Gosh.
I've got some time on my side.
What if it takes them another 15 years to put out Part 2?
That would be fucking nuts.
You would be so mad.
That would be rough.
Because to the best of my knowledge, they haven't said when they're going to put out the next part, have they?
No, they don't even know how many parts it's going to be. But they are working on Part 2 already. That's definitely happening.
Well, yeah. But it could be 15 years.
Maybe not. We'll see. Point of it is, they're going to get a shit ton of money from Part 1. And that's going to be enough.
That is true.
Like, all right, cool. I think the way that they said they want to start moving Square Enix forward with their Final Fantasy content is they want to make 3 teams. One team that's going to be designated to making the remake. And then after the Final Fantasy VII remake is done, moving on to another one to do a remake on. One team that's designated to continuing the Final Fantasy franchise moving forward as far as, the rest of them. And then one team that's going to be just focused on the MMO aspect of Final Fantasy. So doing the massive multiplayer online ones, because we do have 2 of those. Final Fantasy 11 and Final Fantasy 14 are both massive multiplayer online Final Fantasies. So.
Okay.
The other ones are single player, story driven, and that's just how they work.
Got it.
Yep. But yeah.
So this week, we're talking about summons, correct?
Summons and a little bit of our friend Cait Sith. So for those of you who have not picked up on the fact that I do watch some other Final Fantasy YouTube channels, obviously. One of them that I cannot recommend enough, especially if you're looking for some awesome materia builds, is 4-8 Studios. They've been YouTube channel for a long time, and they are just basically nothing but Final Fantasy. They do a couple like Chrono Trigger and shit like that, but basically nothing but Final Fantasy, and they have some really good in-depth videos. So if you feel like maybe you didn't get enough information about a character, I suggest either going over there or Fantasy Union. Those are the best place to find those. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a single channel that has the entire cast of Final Fantasy VII. So even even he doesn't. He's got one on Vincent, Red 13, Cait Sith, and he just did one on Barrett actually last week, and Tifa. That's it. So
he's been up for years and he hasn't done these character build or these character concepts or summaries.
I think that's a newer show for him.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I could be wrong. So he does a shit ton of other stuff. And he's constantly streaming and stuff all the time too. Fantasy Union, the reason why they haven't knocked out the entire cast is because they do it on all the Final Fantasy games, and they let the fans decide.
Okay.
So they get to choose the next person, and they go to do that. But they've done a couple of Final Fantasy characters. They've done Cloud. They've done Sephiroth. They did someone else too, and I can't think of who it is. But yeah, but they do a lot of different characters, and they also do heroes and villains towards more like he's just going through the actual team. So yeah. But we did Cait Sith. And we went into it with Kelsey having very little knowledge on Cait Sith and came out with Kelsey having very little knowledge on Cait Sith.
Because he's such a complicated, bizarre character. He feels like they didn't put enough thought into him to begin with. And then when people started asking questions, like somebody without PR permission started answering those questions, and they're like, well, shit, I guess that's canon now, so that? And then people are like, but what about all of this? And it just seems like they kind of flopped out nonsensical crap, and then they're just like, figure it out, and they're it doesn't feel like Cait Sith was a full character design.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he was an accident, and he's a lovable and very interesting accident, but he doesn't feel as complete and as whole and as understandable, and definitely not as relatable as some of the other
Right,
characters.
right. Yep, no, I hear you on that one for sure. I think the way that I like to go off of it, due to the fact that I actually enjoy Cait Sith as a character, I like his character and stuff like that. The way that I choose to do it, just because of how it was whenever I was a kid, is that Cait Sith is its own entity. Reeves can somewhat tell what to do when he wants to, and Cait Sith controls Mog with the microphone. So that's pretty much where I've landed at with with that.
It just feels like Mog is a slave of a slave.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
And it's interesting, we talk a lot about Cait Sith. We do not talk at all about Mog, because Mog is supposedly the robot, but
Mm-hmm.
Cait Sith's the one that can come back at any point in time.
Yep. And
And
Mog, we didn't
Mog
get.
Mog never
Yeah.
speaks, Mog never anything, right?
No, not unless you watch the Final Fantasy VII Machina Bridge, because they make Mog just this depressed, doesn't want to be alive, kind of like he's just always like there's one scene where they're talking about meteor's gonna come down and kill us or something like that, and then Mog's just like, we were all just gonna die anyway, and shit like that. It's so good.
Okay, so they turned Mog into Eeyore, and it's really funny.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking good. It's pretty good.
Oh, that's really great.
uh, but yeah, so other than that, yes, we never actually have like any conversations with Mog, and he's not. And that was something that I thought was interesting that he pointed out, that I noticed whenever I first watched the movie, was the fact that, like I said, in the original version of the movie, Cait Sith is on Red 13, and the flashback to the Sephiroth fight, but in the completed version of the movie, he's on Mog in the flashback to the final scenes of the Sephiroth fight, which is pretty cool. Because obviously this is a spoiler or anything, but like the first 5 minutes is basically like Marlene going, "Hey, this is what happened," for people who are just watching this movie out of fucking nowhere and don't know what the fuck they're watching it for. So yeah.
Which, weird choice if
Mm-hmm.
that's you, but whatever, you got there. So, do you think there's any chance that they're going to grab Cait Sith and be like, okay, we have the time, we now have a dedicated audience, we can do a more complete, understandable character build on Cait Sith, and background on Cait Sith, background on Reeves, all that kind of good stuff. Do you think that's possible in this remake, or do you think they're going to leave him as this ambiguous, amorphous, confusing thing?
I would much rather them just leave him the way he is, due to the fact of like it's always been like a fan favorite thing to just try to understand and crack the
Mm-hmm.
nut of what is Cait Sith. But at the same time, um, I think they're going to, just due to the fact that we're getting all this backstory on Biggs and Jesse and Wedge and other characters like that didn't have a lot of backstory, to be able to like actually hone in more on the team. I think we're going to get
Mm-hmm.
a lot more backstory about a lot of different people, honestly. I mean, I think we'll probably even get some more stuff on Cloud than we had to begin with. Tifa, I hope, gets a little bit more in depth backstory, because a lot of her stuff, she had a lot of solo stuff, yes, but it's a lot of her stuff also evolved around Cloud as well. Now, I'd like to see a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more about, kind of like Tifa's life after Cloud left, to go join Soldier, and see a little bit more about what Tifa was doing in those 7 years before the incident at the shit that took place in Nibelheim. Because you know somewhat about it, because they talked about it just a little bit in like the in between shit, which is what they were referencing when they were talking about Reeves talking to Denzel, and it was like that little animated episode, and it was like
Mm-hmm.
in between what they said, the audiobooks On a Way to a Smile. Yeah, there's like a 14 or 18. It's either 14 or 18 audiobooks, and it's called On the Way to a Smile, and it literally takes place in between the game and the movie. So that's how it works. It's like Final Fantasy VII, and then the next step is On the Way to a Smile, which moves into the movie, and then the movie moves technically into Dirge Cerberus, but only due to the fact of the timing, because the movie takes place 2 years after the game's events, and Cerberus takes place 3 years after the game's events, and then Crisis Core takes place 5 years before the game, leading up to the game, and then Last Order, which is something that you'll watch, is what shows the events of what happened and how Zack and them got out of Nibelheim and on the way back to Midgard. Because we don't get that in full detail. And then Before Crisis just takes place before everything. So
Yeah, it would be nice to give, because Tifa is without question a badass character with an interesting story, interesting abilities, all that kind of good stuff. It would be very cool to get her story separate from Cloud.
yeah,
Aerith's story separate from Cloud and the team, because they are their own unique individuals that have done their own unique things, and it would be really cool to see that.
right.
And I feel that way about Sid, which we actually got a lot of Sid's story separate from the team. And we got some of Barrett's story, but I would like more. I understand how he got to Avalanche, but I still would like more because I really love Barrett.
Well,
But
it's just understanding how they got to Midgar. It's like we don't know how
yeah,
you made it to Midgar. What was your choice to come over here? Da 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 da. Was it the fact that you knew all these Maka reactors were over here and you thought that would be the best place to start? Like stuff like that. Would be great things for them to kind of tie in to the remake to give us just that much more to understand the characters' motives by the time we get them on the team.
yeah, dear viewer, if you can't tell, Chris and I are in this thing because we love the story
Yep.
above everything else, and we really want to understand these people because clearly they've come alive for Chris, and they've come alive to me through Chris telling me about it, but I cannot wait to play the game and get to know them myself. I'm super pumped.
Yeah. No. No. It's gonna be great, especially with voice actors now.
Oh, yes.
It's gonna be a whole new world. Can't wait to have our Scottish Cait Sith. Yeah. Or Ketchy.
Are we certain that he's Scottish?
I mean, that's what we had in the movie, and that's what we had in Dirge. That was the voice they used for Cait Sith, even though Reeves is not. That's what he was talking about and bitching about. Was one of his biggest complaints was that they
Yeah.
kept switching that up. Which I think the one thing that he said, I really think would should just be the way that they make it is just like, hey, look, Cait Sith is this whole joke off the whole Ketchy folklore thing from Celtic,
Hmm.
which is why we're giving him the Scottish accent. Like that makes so much sense to me. Like just keep that rolling. It's fine. Boom. But trying to do this
It's
whole like, is it because his parents are Scottish and so therefore like that was his original Scottish accent before he moved to Midgard? I don't care about none of that.
We don't care that much about Reeves at
No,
this time.
Reeves is not that cool to me. I like Cait Sith.
Hmm.
Reeves is an unfortunate byproduct.
Yeah. It's interesting how many the as he was speaking through the different games, how many different redemption arcs they try to give Cait
Mm-hmm.
Sith and Reeves independently but also together,
Mm-hmm.
because the redemption for one is redemption for the other,
Mm-hmm.
and it really seems like none of them landed the way that they hoped it would to actually redeem the character. So it remains a complicated character even after some sort of redemption arc, which
Right.
is rare in my opinion and very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like Cait Sith a lot, and I think a lot of that has to do with the movie too. It's not like he has like a huge part in the movie, but just like his dialogue in the movie was really really fun with me. The one that they kept showing the whole where he kept like slapping the top of Red 13's head, and it actually like
Uh-huh.
pisses Red 13 off because he does it like 3 times in a row, and Red 13 just like looks up at him. But like he's like having like an argument with Yuffie that entire time because like they're in the middle of talking about something, and Yuffie doesn't understand it. So Sid's all like, "Pipe down, this is man talk," and she's like, "Sexist, sexist," and then that's when everyone gets it's all like, "Sheila, shut your mouth," and then he just like slaps the shit out of Red 13's head. He just like looks up at him like, "You motherfucker!" Like it's just like this whole like they're just all like talking shit to each other, just being assholes. Uh, it's great.
Oh my god.
Which is even better because like the first time the entire team's all together and Cloud's not there, so it's like without the leader there, they're all just like fucking chaos among each other and shit. It's fucking hilarious.
Oh, that's
Uh,
great.
it's so good. Uh, I love the teams just interactions with each other. It's so great. Uh, I like when they're fighting Bahamut Sin and fucking Cait Sith's all like, "We can't handle this." Oh, as he's just riding on Red 13. Oh man, I love it. I love it. It's great. You're gonna enjoy the movie, that's for sure. The movie's so good, so
I'm
good.
looking forward to it.
That and then Last Order, just because of how much you like your boy Zach.
I'm really, really looking forward to that. That's gonna be, oh,
Yeah, Last Order and Crisis Core. Yep. Oh,
really
it's gonna
liked
be so
Zach.
fun.
Zach was top notch.
Zach's a
Saw him
beast.
for 3 minutes and he's top notch.
Yep, he is Japan's #1 favorite Final Fantasy character. People
I'm
like
with
the Zach.
Japan.
People like the Zach. That's for sure.
I'm with Japan.
But
They
yeah,
got that one right.
I would definitely like to see a lot more Tifa stuff, though. She's been so iconic outside of the game too. She's been one of the other top characters that's been ported outside of Final Fantasy VII and other things that and that's due to fan request. So I think it would be really smart. Like for instance, that the Dissidia game that I've been playing, the where it's basically Smash Bros, if you will, but all Final Fantasy characters.
Uh-huh.
So them all being brought into the same game. Like there's actually like a story mode and shit, which is actually kind of cool. But
Oh, cool.
yeah, like they actually just added Tifa to it because of the news of the remake. So because it was
Oh,
just the
nice.
only people from Seven were Cloud and Sephiroth, so they added Tifa. I got Cloud, Sephiroth, and Tifa. It's like yeah, she's a beast. Would like to see more Team Ninja. If you're watching this, give me some Nanaki, give me some Cait Sith. Get the rest of my team in there, damn it. But that's like 3 or 4 characters from each of the games they don't have. Which sucks because the people who are fans of like Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's all you had was just 4 characters. So it's like they get their whole team. Meanwhile, I'm like, fuck. I want my Nanaki. You give me fucking Sephiroth. Like, come on.
Dude, these are some unnecessary sour grapes.
Right?
Like...
It is. It is. But they're there. They're just taking up space in my refrigerator, Kelsey. All right? They're just there. So I'm sharing them to hopefully get them gone. Oh,
Sephiroth
man.
is a cool character.
He is.
Concept, I don't know. I don't love him. I don't love him.
Like I said, that's probably my biggest thing for the movie for you is to hear like Sephiroth's last line of the movie. Because to me, like I said, and I know it sounds biased because I'm such a Final Fantasy VII fan, but it's like the best thing I've ever heard from a villain ever. Like it's the best. I can't wait. It's so
That's
good.
quite a strong statement.
It's so good. But at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like it also fits with the events of the game and the movie, so it also makes sense. It's not like he could just say it anywhere he went and it would make sense. Like it just wouldn't. But with the game, it's so perfect. It's like him and Cloud's last dialogue, and it's just so good. It's so good. And the thing I'll be excited about you watching the movie for too is to actually hear the voice actor that does Sephiroth, and then to hear the new voice actor, and then you'll see what I'm saying. Because that's the one I'm still strongly on. Like whoever plays the new Sephiroth, I don't know who you are. I'm not trying to say you're doing a bad job, but man, fuck, dude, that last Sephiroth was so good. And it's like that was a Sephiroth I knew because we had the whole movie and Crisis Core. He was the voice of him in Crisis Core as well, and in Kingdom Hearts. That was the Sephiroth I had. Now it's not anymore. It's just such a change in his voice. It's nuts. But Cloud's a big change too. It'll throw you for a loop. That's gonna be the best part is you watching the movie and then playing the game. It's like these people do not sound anything like they did in the movie whatsoever.
That will be weird.
Because they're all new. Not a single voice actor was kept from the rest of the fucking universe, if you will.
Was it because they weren't loved enough, or was it because they couldn't get
surprise.
them?
It was just a surprise to the entire community. Even from what it sounded like, because the voice actors, they didn't really come out and say anything. But like there would be people like, oh my god, this doesn't sound like you in the remake. And they're like, yep, definitely not me.
That's because it isn't. Oh, man.
Yeah. So, yep.
God, that had to be strategic from somebody's perspective. I just wish they would I wish Square Enix would come out and say, this is why we didn't go with the same voice actors. Here was our reasoning, and give the fans an opportunity to have it directly addressed.
Right.
Rather than just leaving it silent.
Right. Exactly. No, I completely agree with you. That would have been the smart way to do it, but what are you gonna do? So before we get in, because basically the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna do for sure the summon video today. Kelsey's gonna watch all the summon animations, so she'll finally get to see Knights of the Round and see what I've been talking about this entire time. And then we're going to do a limit break video on the next one so she can see everybody's limit breaks and actually understand what a limit break is, because I've said that word 1,000 times and she still doesn't really understand quite what they are besides a super move.
Not a damn clue.
So she'll be able to see those. But past that, I guess to go ahead and start off, since we decided to pull Square Enix in the last video, what are your thoughts now sitting at the end of the game? We beat Sephiroth, the planet. So I guess that's one thing I do want to say before you jump into that. That's always been one of the biggest things that people try to always use against me whenever it's like, I'm like, oh, Cloud would easily beat that character. It's like, Cloud couldn't even save his own game. Like, he wasn't even who saved the planet at the end. The planet had to save itself. And it's like, if it wasn't for Cloud killing Sephiroth, Holy would have never activated. The live stream wouldn't have been able to save itself without Holy being there as well. So it's a combination of Holy and the live stream. It's like, but at the same time, it's like, once again, if you go with the normal motions of Final Fantasy VII, we were put in situations where you could see easily this isn't going to be a one-punch man situation where you're just going to go up and fucking omni-slash the fucking meteor into pieces. It just wouldn't be as cool. It was real people. I mean, obviously he's a super soldier, but at the same time, still dealing within the bounds of, like, he's not Superman.
Yeah.
And that is what made the game so interesting to me.
Well, thanks for stealing all my words there, Chris, but I I ultimately agree with you, and I think I would have agreed with you even without you having that opinion, because I genuinely dislike when video games, animes, movies, whatever, play that game with the characters where they make them so stupidly powerful. It is insane. I think you've mentioned at least one anime where somebody flies up and punches a moon into a planet. And it's a bit, it's so far out there. It is broken and ridiculous, and we're in awe because of the spectacle, because we couldn't do that ourselves. And I think that breaks us for what we can do when we work together, when we need to get out of the way, because sometimes the best thing you can do is get out of the way and let somebody who's stronger than you or better set up for this fight handle it.
Right.
And that is a better test of your heroism to me than whether or not you can punch a moon into a planet.
Right.
And so I probably will never be big into the, oh, hey, which one of these two characters from these two totally different universes with two totally different feats is stronger, because ultimately we're talking about apples and kumquats. Like, it is so different. It's like, it's more like apples and concrete blocks. It's not even remotely comparable, and it doesn't need to be. So I like that Cloud needed his team at every single stage. This game could not have been done with Cloud alone.
Right.
He could not have defeated Sephiroth. He could not have saved the planet.
Right.
Without Cloud, the team could not have done it.
Right. They're both necessary pieces.
Like, these were the right people brought together at the right time with the right motivations, with the right drive, with the right leader to perfectly be the point of the spear to do the one thing that needed to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a miraculous story.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if he was or was not the one that ultimately slashed the meteor into bits.
Right.
That isn't that would completely defeat the entire story they built to that point.
Right, for sure. Absolutely.
This entire story is about teamwork and family and what really matters. It is not about ultimate power. It is about why ultimate power is ultimately corruptive.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I feel you, but yeah, it's just one of those things where that's a big part of the internet. It's just who could beat who, I mean, there's little YouTube channels just based around it, and I love having those conversations. It's like, a lot of the stuff, whenever you look at it, it's like, if you look at the actual level, in my opinion, that Final Fantasy characters are on, and obviously you're not going to have that much knowledge besides 7, but it's like, the movie, for instance, I know you haven't seen it, but you watch my AMV, like, they fight Bahamut, like, straight up fucking fight Bahamut, and Cloud rips the Buster Blade right in the half that motherfucker. Like, That's a big fucking monster. Like, Bahamut is nothing small to fucking play around with, and he just rips his ass in half with a Buster Blade. It's like, there's a lot of characters that don't come close to that level at all. With, for instance, a good one that we always kind of go back to because people are like, fucking RWBY's such an amazing anime, but they're so fucking far down on the tier list, and that's why. They don't come close to fighting shit like that. So therefore, they would get blown the fuck out of the water, which is how Yang beat Tifa in a fucking death battle. It has me just fucking blown away. And I love both of them. Yang is my favorite RWBY character, but she should have lost. Like, Tifa had her ultimate weapon and everything. She should have got her ass whipped. But it is what it is. You know, what are you gonna do? But let's go ahead and jump into the summons, and we'll talk a little bit about the summons, and then we'll do that next episode. And yeah, we'll just kind of go from there before we kickstart right into fucking Crisis Core. Yeah.
Yeah.
A death blow. That's the Chocomog. The first summon you get.
What?
Yep. That's the first summon we got. The one with the Dance of Chocobos.
Okay.
Now we got Diamond Dust. Shiva. So basically they summon these basically like gods. And they come in and do a shit ton of damage. And then leave.
Alright, Shiva's hella cool.
Right. We saw her in the remake trailer. Y'all saw Ifrit, which that's who this is right here. Judgment Bolt. Rama.
That's a cool visual.
It's Titan.
He looks like a cross between a Samoan and Zeus. Cool.
Gunge Lance, this is Odin. What's actually cool about Odin, he actually has two. He's the only character that has two attacks, but I'll talk about that in a second. I wonder if they'll actually show a second one or not.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ah, this is one you talked to me about. Alright, that's awesome.
Yep, they do. Yep, steel bladed sword. Here you go. It basically is just judged on how much health the enemy has, is where Odin will do either one or two moves. Once again, he's the only one that has two. Yeah, he's badass.
Whew.
Tidal wave, this is Leviathan. Hey look, it's Maester Tomberry.
Ah! Alright, that's awesome.
Mega Flare, so this is Bahamut. First one. Tetra Disaster. So I think this is Neo Bahamut, right? No, it's not Neo Bahamut. This is oh, this is that fucking bull. Aja, I think is how you say it. Yeah, I don't use this one a lot. Not one of my favorites.
That was cool.
Judgment. This is... Oh, Alexander. Oh, here's Phoenix. When Dylan said would be your favorite.
I mean, visually, that is really cool.
Yeah, it does damage, and then it heals your entire team, too. See? Just brought him right back to life. Alright, this is Neo. Here's Hades. And he's the one I told you that does all the status effects.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Does damage and it hits you with every status effect in the club. Poison, sleepy, confusion. So I started spinning, had disease, all that kind of shit. Disintegration, this is Typhoon. Probably the creepiest looking out of all the Aeons. Yeah, he's
Dislike. Ugh.
yeah. Terra Flare. This is Bahamut Zero, the last Bahamut.
Oof, that is cool.
Here we go. Ultimate in. Knights of the Round. Finally here. Still going.
Jeez.
I think this is second to last night right here. Yeah. Nope, this is. Now it should be the last night right here. All that for one summon.
Wow.
which does a dick ton of damage.
Yeah, I could tell. That one seemed to do more damage than any of the rest.
That is what a summon is. It's been a while since we kind of
Whew.
talked about it. You didn't really know what a summon was. That is a summon. You get to summon. They're called Aeons. You get to summon Aeons, and they show up, do a dick ton of damage, then bounce out.
They all were really interesting.
Right? Yeah.
They clearly like the gigantic man wielding a sword kind of vibe, but they were still really cool because there were several that didn't fit that were
Mhm.
doing other things. My gosh, that was interesting.
Yep.
Phoenix was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Like just visually, it was absolutely gorgeous. I loved the pomp and circumstance with Hades. Like I like how he's like, all right, we're gonna have all these things go up, and then we're gonna have a platform, and then I'm gonna have a cauldron, and then
Yep.
I'm gonna do that. Like
He's the drama queen out of them.
it was absolutely the drama queen, and I absolutely loved that. Not enough to make it my favorite. And Knights of the Round, good lord, it looked like that one just did a ridiculous amount of damage
Yup.
to whatever you were fighting. Does anything, excluding Sephiroth, because it's Sephiroth, does anything survive Knights of the Round?
Yeah, both Emerald and Ruby Weapon.
Oh my gosh.
But, like I said, a great way to beat Ruby Weapon if you're not trying to fucking spend too much time is having that fucking quad thing going on where you have Hades pop up. He does all the status effects, which all the status effects miss Ruby Weapon except making him dizzy, so that way he can't move, stuns him. And then you bring Knights of the Round up, and they all beat the fuck out of him, and then they fucking just mana absorb, and then just restart the cycle. Just keep doing it. Because if you do it a specific way, you have to have certain materia sets up. You don't really get these till later into the game to be able to do multiple summons. Like they have to level up first off in order for you to cast them multiple times, and still they take like a lot of fucking mana, and you can't just like constantly just keep casting them. But because of the way that you do the mimic and shit like that, that's how you're able to break that whenever you do stuff like against Ruby Weapon or. But that's what Emerald Weapon was made, was to make you actually have to think on your feet, because Emerald Weapon, his ultimate move that he gets to use multiple times, does damage based on how much materia your character has on him. So if you have a lot of materia on, it basically just wipes your entire fucking team.
Oh, that's interesting. So they make you change your strategy. I like that.
Yep.
I like that because not all enemies are the same. It's good that it's not just you hit it 4 times with the sword and you move on. I like that they make it a little bit more complicated.
Oh yeah.
Is your favorite summon Knights of the Round?
My favorite summon would probably, would be Knights of the Round, but I'm a huge fan of the Bahamut summons. I like Bahamut a lot.
I was going to say, I know
as a kid, because I didn't get Knights of the Round my first time through. I didn't actually even get a Golden Chocobo my first time through. I was too young to get into the whole Chocobo mating and shit like that. I didn't really understand it. It was more about like, hey, I'm going to fucking go beat Sephiroth with Cloud, my new favorite video game character. So it was probably like my third time through. I probably got Knights of the Round when I was a little bit older, but not really old. And then now I just I get all the material every time I go through. So.
I was going to say, every single one of the Bahamuts I wrote down because I absolutely loved them, but my favorite of all the summons was definitely Neo Bahamut.
Neo Bahamut?
That was so cool.
The one where he picked up the ground?
Yeah.
Yeah, Neo Bahamut.
And then like obliterated it. Like that was so cool.
Just let him drop back down. Yep. He's pretty cool. But now you know where the whole like fucking Bahamut with cheese and shit like that comes through. Yeah. Yeah,
I like that.
There's multiple, because like the Bahamut that's in the movie isn't even a Bahamut that was in the game. That's Bahamut.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there's just multiple Bahamuts, and in other video games, there's versions of Bahamut that weren't in 7. So on and so forth. So yeah, he's the recurring summon, kind of like how we have a Sid in every Final Fantasy. He's the recurring Aeon. Well, actually, they all are. There's actually pretty cool videos out there, and not all of them actually, but there's actually videos out there where it shows you like the evolution for one Shiva. She's been in all the Final Fantasies, so it's like the evolutions of Shiva and like where she started and where she looks like where she's at now. And we got to see Shiva in the remake trailer.
Yeah, she was gorgeous. Yep. That's where I thought. Yeah, that's who I thought Aerith turned into, which was very confusing.
And we also got to see Ifrit as well, which was also pretty cool as well. So, but yeah, I think that'll do it for this one. And then, like I said, on the next one, we'll do the limits, and we'll talk a little bit more about Yuffie, so that way you're covered. And then we might have like one wrap it up 100% episode. I think is pretty much
We
where that about sits. That's about fair.
Indeed. Well, friends, that's going to be the wrap on our 19th class in our Final Fantasy VII semester. Please jump in the comments and tell us what your favorite summons is, and maybe even why. Maybe there's some backstory that you know that we don't that you'd love to throw in those comments and
Yeah.
educate us. We'd really appreciate it. All in all, tell us your thoughts, but please like and subscribe to this channel. It'll help us a lot. And if you tell your friends about us and they do the same thing, that will really help us continue to grow. We would love to interact with you on our Twitter or our Twitch links, which are below if you'd like to continue talking to us. And all in all, I hope we will see you in the next class and that you have a wonderful day. Bye, friends.